Here's Brody Brazil.
Let the record show that by the very end, baseball fans and players made enough of a stink so that Major League Baseball is actually going to reverse course on two different fronts and get things right as it relates to the jerseys. Number one, in the All-Star Game, there is no longer going to be a separate and special All-Star Game jersey. Players and fans just wanted the players to wear their typical, traditional team uniforms like they always did. So baseball is going back to that. Baseball's also going back to the older version of the jerseys they used to wear from 2020 to 2023. There were so many problems here in 2024 when Nike and Fanatics started doing their own special, separate, brand new version of the jersey with Major League Baseball. It just did not work for a lot of different ways. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of the criticisms, but just to recap, not one problem, not two problems, but all of these different problems. They tried to make the new jerseys a little bit more athletic feeling, a little bit lighter weight, more breathable. Nobody was really asking for this on the inside, so they had problems with mismatching grays, the tops and the pants. One was a different shade of gray than the other. Hard to believe that's even possible, but it happened. All the sweat stains on the gray jerseys, if you go especially look at a team like the Yankees, who are basically all gray, there's not a lot of stripes and patterns and texture to it, you could see those sweat stains most all summer long, especially when you got into the warm and humid climates. It was a terrible look. And how about for catchers wearing all that gear and then taking it off and going to have an at-bat, and you just look at them, they're drenched and it all showed? I mean, they're sweating. They've always been sweating. But now you could see it this season. Such a bad look. The transparent pants problem from spring training, go ask Casey Schmidt of the Giants how that went during photo day. A lot of issues there. How about the ripped pants? And we saw so much of this, I don't know, for some reason with the Detroit Tigers, sliding into home on a normal, functional, foundational slide, you shouldn't even be able to rip your pants. They should be so well made that they can handle that. But for whatever reason, we saw pants ripping midway through the season. There was a lot of criticism about the patches. I mean, they've always been thick and heavy and embroidered, and so what if it's that little bit of extra weight on your shoulder? Who cares? It looks nice. It's the way it's always been, and it doesn't hinder the athletes. It wasn't getting in their way. It wasn't a problem. So the printed patches looked kind of cheap. And what everybody noticed, and I mean, this was apparent all season long, and especially when you looked at a current clip, and then in a broadcast, they would do a flashback to even last year or a couple years ago, the names on the back of the jerseys, they were big and bold, and we were used to that, and there was no problems with that. And then this year, it's that tiny little lettering that nobody really liked or wanted. But that's what baseball did, and again, they're now going to basically fix all of these things. There was an announcement from Major League Baseball, which came out on Monday, and to be clear, when they say additionally here, they're talking first about the All-Star Game jerseys. That was kind of the big headline from baseball. That was the number one thing they wanted to address. But they also kind of slid in here the fact that they are reversing course entirely on the Nike and Fanatics made jerseys that they unveiled starting this current season. Here's what baseball said. Additionally, changes are in the works for the overall home and road team uniforms beginning next season, and will include pant customization for players, right? That was another thing, is they stopped allowing custom pants for the players. That is a tradition. They'd always done that. Custom pants are very important for baseball players, and in 2024, they said, yeah, we're just not doing that anymore. It's like getting a suit and saying you can't get the pants tailored. It's almost impossible. Unless it's custom made, which they're not, you need those pants customized. Increasing the size of lettering, so that's another thing they're addressing on the back of the jerseys, and returning to the previously used materials that the players requested. So we literally are going back in time to make things right. They're not even trying to evolve it into something different or something better again. They're just saying, you know what? We'll go back to 2023 all over again because nobody had a problem with 2023. The decision to move forward with these modifications was finalized over the last few days. You'd have to think, by the way, that behind the scenes, they've been working on this internally for months, but if they're just going back to what they did before, did it really take months to finalize that? Following collaboration between MLB, Nike, Fanatics, and the Major League Baseball Players Association. The changes will begin in 2025 and will be fully implemented by the start of the 2026 season. Now, I'll explain in their words why that is. Like, why can't you handle all of this at once? Why can't you get this right by the start of next season? Apparently, they don't have the infrastructure to do that, but at least, as you'll find out later, they are tackling the most important parts of all of this first and by next season. MLB's new Nike Vapor Premier jersey design was introduced here in 2024 to, as they say, improve mobility and fit. MLB, Nike, and Fanatics partnered with the Major League Baseball Players Association to conduct a league-wide survey to determine how best to move forward, and here's my favorite part, following criticism from some corners. Following criticism from some corners. Some corners? The criticism was all over the place with these jerseys. Baseball, come on. You think I don't see you trying to slip that sentence in there in those words? Following criticism from some corners. I'm one of those corners, but I'm not really in a corner. I'm in the middle of the room, just with everybody else. Following criticism from some corners about the lightweight look and smaller letters. After receiving feedback, I'm sure you got a lot of it, all parties set about addressing the players' requests for enlarged lettering for player names, embroidered sleeve patches, and reverting back to full pant customization. Although production timelines will prevent all the uniform changes from being completed in time for the 2025 season, the road gray uniforms made from the 2023 fabric will be ready by spring training. And starting in 2026, all uniforms, so including the home whites, they'll be using the previous materials from the 2023 season. So if you're upset about the fact that it's not all getting remedied by the start of next year, at least the grays are. No more mismatching grays, no more sweat stains. That's at least half the battle. So it seems like the home white jerseys might still be the thinner fabric. They're making the letters big again. So at least we're now cutting out the main parts of the problem. We're prioritizing, and I've got no problem with that. All right, so let's get to some takeaways here. As I mentioned before, I caught on to all of this back in February and my trip to Arizona for spring training, and I had started to hear rumblings even before I went down to the Cactus League, and it was like a couple weeks before. I heard a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I said, you know what? I will judge it when I see it. So my first day down at Mesa at A's spring training, friends with all the clubhouse staff, I said, hey, can I see the new jerseys? Can I feel what these feel like? I mean, they'll be wearing them in a matter of days, so here, take a look. I go up, I touch it, I inspect the stitching, and it had a different, and by different, I mean lighter but also cheaper feel, the lettering on the back, everything I had heard about looked almost like even worse in real life and in person. And I think everybody saw that over the course of this baseball season. So I will never forget my first impression of these jerseys, and that's bad. If I, like not player, but media person, somebody, who's a fan, who pays attention to baseball, if I instantly look at this, notice this, and say, whoa, something is wrong there, how come nobody at Major League Baseball did? And granted, this was a Nike design, and I'll be very clear, this was only produced by Fanatics. They literally gave Fanatics the specs and said, here, make this. And Fanatics was like, okay. So I know Fanatics gets a lot of heat on this. I know Fanatics hasn't always had the best track record of products and craftsmanship over the last decade. I promise you, from everything I know, they've tried to turn that around. But in this case, I mean, the Players Association spelled it out a couple months ago. This is on Nike. This was Nike's idea. This was Nike's design, their specs. Fanatics just made it, and baseball approved it. So again, baseball approving it, kind of concerning. Nike's idea, kind of concerning. And Fanatics, they probably should have been the last line of defense, but it was like a 5-on-1. Like if we want to talk about hockey, for example, it's like a 5-on-1. Somebody might score. Anyway, in the end, Major League Baseball did listen to you, the fans, and listen to its players and the Players Association. However, does it feel like there was any accountability? What if you bought like 6 jerseys this year? You're going to have that one era of like thin fabric, cheap jersey, small name, And then how about people who might want to buy a jersey this year? It's like, are you sure you're getting the new one, the nice one, the right one? Or are you getting that temporary stuff? I wish there was some some acceptance of this, some some apology almost. Some admission. That's the word I'm searching for. Some admission. Yeah, you know what? We screwed up. Not we heard criticism from some corners. What? That's crazy. So, again, this is probably as much as you're going to get from baseball. They will fix it. They will make it right by bringing it back to 2023. Look, let's just hope they don't try any of this again. As I said before, their biggest fault in this was not trying to innovate. I can appreciate innovation. But if you change 8 things at once instead of little tweak here for 2024, a little tweak there. Do we like this? Did we talk to everybody about this, or are we just doing our own thing and hopefully everybody will like it? I mean, we can understand the differences. We can understand all the problems. I'm just glad that to some degree, I won't have to make videos about this much longer. You've made it here to the end of this one. You know I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below greatly helps me in this video and this channel. I would also love it if you just take one quick second while you're here and before this video ends, go down there and make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. That way I can definitely get to see you back here next time.